Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to talk about something that a lot of Whimpering Waves players might get upset about. And by those Whimpering Waves players, I'm talking about the really sweaty ones. Because there's been a bit of an exploit, there's been a bit of a bug fix, some could call it a bit of a nerf, actually, when it comes to the Whimpering Wastes game mode specifically. Kuro Games is going ahead and addressing how, in the current version of the game, certain player actions, like using the utility wheel, the gadget wheel, in the middle of a Wii-Wah or TOA run, may actually influence the combat and challenge results in a way not originally intended. And so, basically, what's going on over here is that after you use certain abilities, they have a lingering hitbox, where if new enemies spawn, then they'll also get hit by the move. And so, if I were to pause over here by clicking that utility wheel, you can see it slows down time actively. If a new enemy were to spawn over here, they get damaged by that move. And so, I know it's a lot to take a look at right now. We'll just go ahead and demonstrate it in Infinite Torrents, or sorry, not Infinite Torrents over here, but one of the baseline stages, because Infinite Torrents right now is fusion resistant. One of the characters that really utilized this tech, or exploit, or bug, particularly well, was Brant. He still does, but naturally that synergy is going to be removed. So let's just show you all a little bit about what it looks like when you actually put it into action. And I do think that these enemies should hopefully be fragile enough to one-shot. And you should hopefully see what's going on over here. Okay, here we go. You'll notice that that second wave of enemies basically got blown up. Oh, and there's the third one. Yeah, that's pretty much the best example I could have given. That looks a little bit unintended, doesn't it? I used one attack and was able to damage 3 waves at once, and I held it long enough for that third wave to actually spawn. And so, you can kind of get the viewpoint of Kuro Games over here, right? Clearly, this mechanic literally makes certain characters way stronger than others, because not every character in the game has that level, right, of lingering, like, hitbox. Maybe Changli will get it here. Can she get it here? Is that next wave gonna spawn? No, I don't think she finished that guy off. But that's the thing, right?
In the limelight.
It's a little... It can be a little bit overtuned.
Perfect finale.
Especially if your Brant or your Havoc Rover or the multitude of other characters that can utilize this tech are particularly well. Oh dear, that's some crazy AI they got going on over there. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. They kind of just got shepherded around. But you get the point. That's a little bit too strong. Havoc Rover, a free-to-play unit, was one of the characters that was able to really abuse that tech through their liberation. Because that liberation, right, you know, the one that, like, makes, like, the bird, and then it, like, explodes, they kind of go, like, they kind of, like, do like that. Yeah, that one also had a lingering hitbox. I don't know if there were many other characters that were able to, like, abuse that tech, but those are the main ones that do kind of come to mind. And so, let's just read a little bit further about what's going on with that bug fix and how they're addressing it. This issue first came to our attention during version 2.3 of the game, and we have yet to come up with a definitive solution to the issue. In the interest of ensuring fair gameplay across platforms, by the way, only PC players could do this. Yeah, if you were on mobile, or if you were on, I believe, the PS5 or some other way of playing the game, you were not actually able to utilize this tech. And so PC players naturally actually had a bit of an advantage to make this work. So with that, we have now decided to make necessary adjustments in this regard and will carry out continuous evaluation of the effects of these adjustments. So let's keep this in mind. They might recognize that there are some players or there are some clears that are really impacted by the loss of this tech. Maybe there are some teams that had no chance of clearing. And so this, to me, almost makes it seem like the devs are, like, keeping a pulse check on how people are feeling about the game mode. And if there are, like, enough complaints, if there's just, it feels like the difficulty has gotten too high as a result of it, they'll probably make some adjustments to either lower the difficulty of Wii-Wah or something along those lines. All things that would be welcome changes, because right now, I do think that the mode needs some additional tuning to feel better. So, we sincerely apologize for any inconvenience this issue may have caused. You will receive a compensation when the adjustments have been implemented. Thank you for your continued support for Whimpering Waves. And so I do believe that the compensation isn't actually listed out over here, but it should be, I do believe, around 320 astrite. So 320 astrite is about 2 pulls, which, in all honesty, for a bug that didn't impact, well, anybody that wasn't on PC and was a favorable bug for people on the PC, that's still pretty decent, right? Naturally, I think that there are going to be a lot of complaints about this. The main one being from individuals who are looking to get some of the highest scores possible, right, in their infinite torrents clear, because being able to blow up 3 waves, 3, 4, 5 waves with 1 attack was something that was basically involved with getting, well, the highest scores possible. I believe you could also do it with Phrolova. You could also do it with Augusta. There's a reason why when I was like playing on a Wales account the other day, they were able to get 35k scores in Weewa. It was through abusing that tech. And my take on this is that I don't believe most players who were even playing the game were even utilizing this tech in the first place. And it was really something that only impacted those that were on the higher end of overall performance, right? They're looking for every single way possible to get the highest number of points, and they weren't really in danger of not clearing in the first place. Just as a whole, I feel like it's just going to be 320 astrite for everybody. However, we still need to get down to the brass tacks when it comes to Whimpering Wastes as a whole. Kuro basically went ahead and said over here that they're going to be monitoring, right, the results of these changes, probably making some more updates and some fixes. And I think this is also another great opportunity to just go ahead and talk a little bit more about what's actually wrong with Whimpering Wastes so that we can tailor more and more of that feedback. I've already made some of these thoughts known, but that time, right, for that feedback form from Kuro Games where, you know, Yang Yang sends us some mail and then we answer some questions, that has still yet to come. So I think we could all use a bit of a refresher. For how we can actually finally fix this game mode in the next iteration. Right now, one of the biggest updates that was made to Weewa in the most recent patch was an adjustment to the environment report to add this new mechanic called Burning Waves. And so how Burning Waves works is that whenever you defeat an enemy or deal damage, you restore this resource called Ember. And once you have a bunch of Ember, you're gonna deal a shit ton of extra damage, about 60% more damage for 30 seconds. And this is kind of like the situation going on over here. With the baseline damage dealt increase nerfed from 50% to 30%, and then this one added on, it kind of makes the start of your clear a bit slower, actually a little bit harder than the last reset, but as you build up that Ember, it gets a lot easier because of that damage bonus that's coming in. And they've also introduced a new token over here that basically directly interacts with the Burning Waves state. And so basically, when you activate Burning Waves, it's actually permanent. It's not going to be just 30 seconds, it'll be for the rest of your run. And then second, you'll deal 50% more damage on top of the bonus that's already there. And so this is kind of like the situation that's going on in Whimpering Wastes right now. You can see that Kuro Games is making an active effort to add some new mechanics to the game mode, and I think that Burning Waves is a great next step. However, this shit takes fucking forever to activate. It basically activates in most situations about a minute into your run, and the end result is that you feel like you have almost no uptime on this damage increasing effect. That's how it typically is in most clears, about a minute into the run. When this token, a gold one, by the way, that's supposed to be one of the strongest tokens possible, is also the most general one, it's one that a lot of teams are going to use, or think that they should use, because obviously this one's tailored around using Augusta or Yuno, with the 20% electro damage, 20% arrow damage, and then shield interactions as well, where Augusta and Yuno refresh shields. And then this one is clearly guaranteed around Phrolova because of the Echo skill synergy and the Havoc damage increase. This is typically the one that most people feel like they should use. The unfortunate thing is, this thing sucks ass. Because Burning Waves takes so long to activate and happens so late into your clear, that means that this token also takes a long time to activate. And this token has no effect until Burning Waves is triggered. And so, effectively, by picking this token, you don't have a token until you're halfway through your run. You can probably imagine how when Whimpering Wastes still has its 114% HP inflation from the prior patch, the HP hasn't gone up, thankfully. It still has the old HP inflation from before, and now they've added, right, a mechanic that fixes it, but then also doesn't exist for a whole minute or maybe even longer, depending on how strong your team is. Yeah, it doesn't work out particularly well. So my suggestion is that if we're going to be going ahead, Kuro Games, if we're going to be going ahead and making updates that are, you know, just going to hurt clear times, I think we do need to make some concessions in other places in the game mode. Because one situation that I talked about before, right, is that this is probably only going to impact the sweaty players the most. However, there are going to be a lot of people that are currently looking up Weewa clear guides, right? And there are a lot of teams that might just manage to scrape by while using this tech. One team that I can think about that's just probably going to manage to scrape by using this tech would be something like this one. I do believe that through proper use of that tech where they're freezing time in coordination with Havoc Rover's Liberation, they can actually get some decent clears. But that's not going to be available for this team anymore. So let's just give an example of what people using this team might actually do to get some of those scores. I think for purposes of this clear, we're probably just going to go with this token to get some general damage amp and just show it off. You'll probably do better running like plunderers or something, but it is what it is.
Loaded.
Endure and defy.
Stay behind me. Engrave.
You're already seeing over here, right? Havoc Rover does end up doing some decent damage, but unfortunately, they are very single target in how they deal it. And so, one of the best ways for them, right,
Leave it to me.
to deal with that
Stay calm.
is, of course,
Frozen blockade. Flooding war with time.
use that ultimate.
Stay behind me.
Oh dear. So let's see if we can get a nice, good old grouped up cast off and show you all what that tech can do for a bit more of a budget team.
Curtain.
Is that gonna pop yet? Oh, did that miss them? Oh, no, it missed some of the guys at the end. That's a little unfortunate. Honestly, anyone that's grinding out rotations with this team, you kind of deserve your clear. This shit is crazy hard. If anything, we should be making it as easy as possible for teams like this to clear, because I'm not gonna lie, they're going through some work. They're going through some work to get those clears. I will be honest with you.
Be gone. None shall whisper.
That was close. We almost got him there. So we're gonna go back on into the regular non-infinite torrents just to be able to demonstrate this tech once again. It can be a little bit harder to actually replicate it in infinite torrents, and that's just the level of work that some players have to go through to actually, you know, get some of these clears.
Loading. Stay behind me.
Keyword, it's a lot of work sometimes. Oh yeah, she just ungroups the fuck out of those guys. Because this is not really like a character, right, that has like the most amazing AoE ever, but people are finding ways, right, through their own creativity to make him work. And I think that's something that, you know, just generally when it comes to gacha games, typically is something that should be rewarded more so than punished.
Modulation. Stay behind me. Like frigid death.
Be gone. Nowhere to hide.
All right, here we go.
None shall whisper.
So, as you just heard, I just blew up 3 waves at once with that. Yeah, that's a lot of bodies that just occurred from one use of the Liberation. And you can clearly see over here, I'm kind of using a bad character for AoE type of content. But that's the one good AoE move in their kit. And that mechanic for some very, very budget free-to-play players is kind of one of the only ways for them to clear the game mode, given how the mechanics of like burning waves, all of that stuff actually work. And that's something that's going to be removed with these updates for those types of players. And this is the thing. I think that there needs to be some balancing involved in this situation to make it so that it doesn't feel like that tech is required for Havoc Rover to be able to clear. I don't think that tech is required at all for a Brant team, a Mono Fusion team, a Brant main DPS team to clear. So it's not really too much of an issue if Brant doesn't have it. But for Havoc Rover, who was already the budget option with bad AoE outside of their liberation, and that tech was kind of like their only way, well, that becomes a much bigger issue than we originally thought, right? Because that was a team that could clear through the use of that mechanic, but now it doesn't really feel like something that works out too particularly well. Camellia team could also use it. I think Camellia can clear without using the mechanic, so it's not that big of a deal for her. But yeah, people were getting some monstrously high scores with Camellia teams as well. And so this is kind of like a situation that I feel like I mentioned before. It impacts the high end of the player base. But because of the changes that have been made to Weewa in the last 2 resets, it's also inherently going to impact the other end of the player base. Those that maybe aren't spending as much, that are just trying to get a team that clears. And the thing is, it's, I think, just more of like a public cry out, hey, we've got to balance out this game mode a little bit more. We've got to make this burning wave situation, whatever we got going on over here, it's got to be a bit stronger, or the HP of the mobs needs to go down. There are a bunch of different levers that could be pulled. Make the characters do more damage, make the general token stronger, or lower the HP of the mobs. But if we're going to get tech like that removed, that can be essential to some people's clears, one of those 3 things needs to happen. Otherwise, we might have a bit of a situation on our hands as further resets continue flowing forward. That's just a bit of like my PSA, my announcement feedback for both Kuro Games and kind of like call to action for the community, because Whimpering Wastes is, I think it's almost there, but right now the updates they made, they're just not enough. So yeah, that'll be that for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought, and peace.